Oh, yeah. We're returning. All right. This should be a very, very interesting segment because think about the advent of what our surveillance state looks like today and the capabilities therein. And then think about how that would have advantaged someone like a Stalin or a Mao or, an Adolf Hitler or Mussolini or Pol Pot or any pick any tyrant, Chavez. Think about how they would have been able to much more rapidly identify those people that they perceived or construed to be an enemy of their regime. And how easy it would be to not only identify who they are, but know how to go about grabbing them and capturing them and, whatever. Well, don't tell me it didn't happen because, all of those men that I mentioned are well known for killing well over, 150, 200 million people. Right? So you can't tell me it doesn't happen, that tyrants don't purge their political enemies. Of course they do. And there's an article out in watchdog.org, which is a great organization, by the way. If you're not a follower of watchdog.org, you should be. But it's also out in the Daily Caller, and let's just run over them real quick. Here's the question you want to ask yourself. If everything that I do is an open book to everyone or any portion of the government that chooses to know and track everything that I do, everything I see, everything I read, every person I talk to, every communication I have, everywhere I go, every place I stop and visit, is there one thing that I can point to as an individual that will make me say, I will get a benefit from this? There will be some benefit that will come from my government tracking everything that I do. I've had an open running bet before Snowden's revelations began with my audience, you, that I will give $100 to anybody who can give me one well thought out, well reasoned, honest and truthful, and of course it has to be real, benefit that they will gain by government having all of this information about all your activities. Everything about your finances, everything about where you shop, how much you spent, how did you buy it, what credit card did you use an ATM card, did you buy in cash? What books are you taking out of the library? What do you read? What kind of television programming do you watch? Do you watch news? Do you not watch news? Where do you go? Where does your vehicle take you? Do you travel a lot, or are you kind of a town body? Do you stay pretty much in town? Do you live in a major city? And if so, where are the places where you frequent and haunt? How often do you go there? Who do you talk to on the phone? And how often? Are these long conversations or relatively brief ones? Are they the same people consistently, or do you speak to a lot of various people? How about your work life? Where do you work? What do you do? Are you the kind of person that stays in an office all day long? Or do you work in a factory or in a warehouse? Or do you travel for work? And how do you travel? And when you're traveling, whom do you come in contact with? And who do those people come in contact with? Who within your circle of influence, your people that you communicate with at work, at church, at school, at business, who within that organization or circle of influence, who do they communicate with? Let's take it out one ring. And then let's take that out a second ring and find out those people that you communicate with, who do they communicate with? I've given you the statistics that there was a study done not so long ago that within an hour, using public databases available on the internet, with your call information, just your call metadata, which the government openly agrees it's taking, that 80% of the people, based on the phone calls that they're making and so forth and so on, can be identified. So the government's argument that, we're not listening to your individual phone calls, you're all just paranoid delusionists, is not true. By the way, I got to take to task Bill O'Reilly on this thing, because he had a conversation yesterday with the liberal and the conservative girl, and I can't think of their names now, Alan Combs and Monica Crowley. And he had a conversation yesterday, and you can probably find it on Fox News' website or O'Reilly.com or whatever, where they were talking about issues of privacy. And he was calling Crowley a paranoid delusionist. I personally, for some reason, O'Reilly is getting further and further and further and further away from constitutional principles. And I see it all the time. It's been happening a lot of late. And, I mean, some of the things he comes up with and announces as if, he's got the fiat authority to make these things so. I get it. He's very popular, and I'm not taking that away from him. But I have to be honest. If that's what America is buying into, then that's a real serious problem. We are entitled to our privacy. Now, in Virginia, the cops are constantly photographing random people's license plates. This is an article out of the Daily Caller, which is up on our website at americasvoicenow.org, Facebook page, Patriot FB page, blah, blah, blah. And this article that was written by Catherine Watson from watchdog.org is excellent. Here's the title of the article. Who's watching me? Police took photos of my license plates. The police know exactly where my car has been and when during the past few months. They could have the same information or more about you. As part of my series on the use of automatic license plate readers in Virginia, I wanted to find out what kind of information local police might have. By law, the only information I'm privileged to obtain is my own. Last week, I filed a public record request with the Alexandria Police Department. I've lived in the lovely city of Alexandria for just 2 years, and my driving record, aside from the occasional parking ticket, is virtually spotless. What I found, however, left me riveted. In all, police captured 16 photos of my car, mostly at night, and recorded my license plate 8 times on 5 different dates, from October 2013 to as recently as April 1st. In January, the license plate reader captured my plate twice while my car was parked in the lot of my apartment complex, according to latitude and longitudinal records. Police also captured records of my car as I drove to a Bible study on a typical Wednesday night in March. Still others were captured in various spots around Old Town Alexandria. Per the Alexandria Police Department policy, LPR, which is license plate reader, LPR-generated data may be kept on a computer for up to 30 days, pending an upload to an LPR database. There, information can be kept for up to 6 additional months, according to Crystal Nosel, the commander and senior public information officer for the Alexandria Police Department. Police Chief Earl Cook ratcheted down that storage policy from 4 years to 2, and then from 2 years to 6 months. So they used to be able to keep it for up to 4 years. Alexandria police have 13 of these mobile systems, which are mounted only on police vehicles. The state's highest constitutional office has already said that random collection and storage isn't legal, but many local police departments in Virginia continue to do it. Last year, then Attorney General Ken Cuccinelli concluded in an official opinion that, quote, data collected in the continuous, passive manner that is not properly defined as criminal intelligence information and not otherwise relating directly to law enforcement investigations and intelligence gathering respecting criminal activity may not be lawfully collected through the use of license plate reader technology. Notice how many loopholes there are? Hello? Because it depends on what you call criminal activity. Is parking illegally criminal activity? Is being in a bad neighborhood criminal activity? I don't know, So there's just loopholes big enough for you to drive a tractor trailer through. Police say that Alexandria license plate reader technology helps police identify and catch criminals in ways other approaches simply can't. This is always the argument we hear, folks, that it's really not about your privacy. It's about finding the needle in a haystack, that one criminal. And it's okay if we violate the rights of tens of millions or even hundreds of millions of you in an effort to accomplish that. I don't buy it. I disagree. 100%. Crime has always occurred. We're never going to have a crime-free society. And we're never going to have a crime-free society when everything that you do is actually a crime these days. I mean, let's be candid. How many of the crimes that are currently on the books are real crime? Very few. In January, Alexandria police, guided by the Alexandria license plate reader gathered data, were able to apprehend the suspected robber of a U.S. Postal Service office. Quote, LPR has been a successful tool in identifying leads in lots of cases from homicide to larceny. There is not one specific crime type, said Nosel, mentioning that records can be used to find parking violators, too. See, that's what it's really all about, monetary revenue streams. Recovering stolen automobiles and detecting parking violations are probably the best examples. However, we do not maintain statistical data on when LPR was used as a tool, since it is merely a pointer system. End quote. That kind of success doesn't happen every day. A study of Maryland's use of the technology found that for every 1 million license plates scanned, only 47 were connected with serious crimes, according to the American Civil Liberties Union. The ACLU of Virginia is encouraging people to file a record request with their own police departments. The top-of-the-line Alexandria license plate reader technology allows local police departments like Alexandria's to capture up to 1,800 license plates per minute, even on cars going up to 160 miles an hour. Police can check license plate data to match one vehicle's moves or against things such as Department of Motor Vehicle records. That's exactly why civil rights advocates such as John Whitehead, the president of the Rutherford Institute in Charlottesville, said that the widespread collection and preservation of license data not only potentially violates search and seizure rights in the Fourth Amendment, but it also makes people leery to exercise their First Amendment right. In 2008 and 2009, the Virginia State Police, which now regularly expunges records but still collects them, license plate records obviously, captured license plate data of people at political rallies for Sarah Palin and Barack Obama. It could be used against you, said Mr. Whitehead earlier this month. After writing this, I'll be sure to keep a closer eye on my surroundings. All it would take is a quick search of the records to find out where I live and where I typically travel. Catherine Watson is an investigative reporter for Watchdog.org, and I've sent her an email asking her for some more information and background on this particular story. And in addition to that, I'd like to see the form that she used, because what I think we should all do, and this delves to the monkey wrench, sand in the gears concept, is that every citizen should be submitting a records request, essentially what she did, to find out what kind of information local, state, and federal agencies, law enforcement, and other entities, and agencies across the spectrum have on you. First of all, the advantage to that is multifold. For those of you that are on the fence about whether or not big government is good or bad for you, finding out exactly how extensive your personal file is may help you to grasp the idea that perhaps all is not well in Kansas. In other words, things aren't quite as rosy as you thought when you find out just how much data they have on you. Secondarily, I do believe that there's some advantage to the concept that by submitting all these requests, you're tying them up and making them do an enormous amount of paperwork. It's the paper snowstorm, right? This is the same kind of snowstorm that lawyers use to bog down cases for years. But think about it. If 100 million Americans went out there and filed a request for all of the information contained on you by your motor vehicle records, your local police department, your local county sheriff, then in addition to that, your state police, then in addition to that, your state government, like it depends on what you do and what you do for work and whether you own property or whatever, but you get the idea. Then in addition to that, the federal databases, the FBI database, the NSA database. Now, I grant you, some of these are going to come back responded to with, we don't give any information out. The NSA is going to tell you, it's none of your business what we have on you, which ought to raise a flag right off the bat. And maybe, just maybe, that will trigger it. But here's the point. If you're a believer already in the fact that we live in a police state, an Orwellian police state, then here's the benefit. You have been involved many, many times as a leader, a community leader, a circle of influence leader, with many people in your circle of influence who you've tried to talk to about what's going on around us. And many times you're met with the glazed over look, the deer in the headlights, the skeptical face, the sarcasm, the insults, the, come on, you're just being paranoid stuff. Okay, great. Here's a tool that will bring it home to you or anyone else. Get your records and then be prepared to show them to those people in your circle of influence who are doubters. I'm only one person. What can I do? I'm giving you a handle right here, right now. You can gather your own personal information by submitting requests to find out what information all these entities have on you. Then you can compile all of that information, and when you have a discussion with someone, you don't have to show them the most intimate details of your personal life that the government has on you, but you can certainly say, well, look, I went out and I submitted these 8 requests, and here's all the information I got back, and it's 3 pages or it's 333 pages. Why is it that they know where my car is going? Doesn't that frighten you? The idea of having empirical evidence in your hand eliminates all of the questions and the doubts and the naysayers and all of the arguments that people would ordinarily put forth to say, come on, you're a paranoid delusionist. Get your tinfoil hat off and let's go have a beer. You see, time will tell, of course, but by then it'll be too late. What we need to be doing as American patriots and as partisans in the war on terror. This is our war against government-sponsored terrorism. We should be acting affirmatively to have the tools at our disposal to do the one thing that right now we can do, which is educate, inform, motivate, and activate those within our circle of influence. Your circle of influence is not only those people who agree with you. Your circle of influence is everyone that you come in contact with, whether it be at work, at school, from a job perspective that touches your business, that you communicate with as friends, that are neighbors in your community, whatever. Members of civic organizations that you're a member with as well. Any one of these areas touch a lot of people. And there's a lot of people that you have contact with that if you only had empirical evidence that was narrow enough for you to say, look, this isn't some kind of statistics that some organization or whatever created and then manipulated the numbers to make it look like something. This is my data. I didn't fake it, and they actually have it. And look what I found they have about me, where my car goes. Why do they care what church I'm visiting on a Wednesday night for what prayer meeting? And doesn't that concern you that your government knows? I mean, so let's assume, for argument's sake, that there's a crime of some sort that occurs in your community. Does that mean that they go back into the database and they say, okay, let's get every car that went by that crime scene for an hour before and an hour afterwards and pull every plate and investigate every person? You know, the idea of all of these things, this is why facial recognition and DNA and retinal scans and all this stuff is so abhorrent to people who are liberty-minded. because the information will inevitably be used against you, not to your benefit. That's why I ask you the question, and I want you to ask yourself, is there any one positive thing that I can point to in my personal life? Any one positive thing that will come from the government tracking all of my activities? Is there any one thing that you can find from any of that? I want you to do that question and ask that question of yourself. I think if you sit down and you're honest about it, you're going to answer no. I mean, where you frequent, what businesses you go to, where you spend your money, what kind of materials you read, what you watch on television, what you do for entertainment. Listen, that's really not the government's business. They've already got a tracking device that they attach to your hip, that you willingly attach to your hip, by the way. So there's so much data about you. I want you to play an active role. Your job is to educate, inform, motivate, and activate those within your circle of influence, no matter how slightly you touch them. And I guarantee you that you can change hearts and minds by standing there and saying, this file that I have is what the government has compiled on me, that I'm aware of, that they'll even give me. And if I found this much, imagine how much more they really have that they won't tell me about. Now, shouldn't that concern you? And have the arguments ready to say, if you disagree and you're still not concerned, let me explain to you why you should be. You don't have to be a great orator. You don't have to be a writer. You don't have to be a minister. You're a leader. Lead. Yes, it's going to take some work on your part. You're going to have to, actually sit down and write the letters but make it a form letter. I don't care. When I have it, I'm going to put one together that will be a request, a Freedom of Information Act request that you can submit to every government agency, your local police department, your local sheriff's office, your local county, and your state police department, and any agency that you deal with, the Department of Natural Resources in the course of your business and things like that. Be a great opportunity for you to identify, what do they know about you? What do they have on you? I think it's a worthwhile exercise, and I think you should do it. I will. I already know they got reams of data on me, I'm sure. But I'd like to see if they're tracking my particular license plate. I mean, I don't really care. I know they are. But, the truth is, I want you to know how much they've got on you, because that's what really matters. And I believe it will be an extraordinarily valuable tool. It can be, in your hands, a weapon to resist and fight back, a way to throw sand in the gears, a way to monkey wrench what the government is doing to us. Right now, all we can do is gather those who are aware and awake, participate with us, and you can help us accomplish that. We're going to take a break for commercials right now. This is a network where we're on live radio and we have to pay the bills. And so stick with us. We're going to take a quick break. When we return, we are going to tackle our third topic this morning, which is tax facts and absurdities, based on the fact that yesterday was perhaps the worst day of the year for many Americans. And we'll come back and touch on that. I'm just going to read a couple of local commercials. We'll be back in just a moment.